Kia ora team and welcome. I'm Ruben from Link Solutions, and in this session we're going to be covering what to do if you find a positive WIP balance against your internal jobs. We don't want a positive WIP balance against our internal jobs because we are never going to be invoicing those jobs out. So what do? Well, we can't just write that time off because that will negatively affect the staff that have put their time against those internal jobs. So there's a very specific process we need to follow in order to move that time and mark it as non-billable. So here's how we do that. Started, let's find out if you have a WIP balance against your internal jobs. So we're going to go to business and then work in progress here. And we're going to click list. So this will list out all of the current jobs you have as of this date and their current WIP balance. So you're going to have a whole bunch of client names in here, and somewhere in here you may have an internal job. So there's an easy way to find them because your list will be quite long. So we're going to select this upside down triangle here and create a filter by going to new filter. We're going to call this WIP on internal jobs. There's three possible ways we can quickly filter this list to show us any WIP on internal jobs. And one option is job category. We're going to say job category is internal. Now if you don't have a job category for your internal jobs, or they're not assigned to an internal job category, make sure you go and do that now. That's going to make it a lot easier to find internal jobs in the future. So here we can see we have a job sitting with a WIP balance, an internal job sitting with a WIP balance against it. Another option you may select here is to say job state is internal. Preview. That'll give us the same result. So if you don't have a job state set up for your internal jobs, go and do that as well. We don't really want our internal jobs sitting in amongst our in-progress type jobs. Makes it easier to find later. Lastly, if neither of those two things are set up, you can still achieve the same result by saying show me all jobs that have a WIP balance for which your own organization name is the client. Great, because these are jobs we're never going to invoice because we wouldn't invoice ourselves. If we do that, we'll achieve the same result. So however we get there, we'll save this now. It's something we can check on an ongoing basis. But once your internal jobs are set up properly, typically they don't cause a lot of problems. It's not something you need to check too often. So however we get there, we want to arrive at this job to see which tasks on this job are causing our $560 WIP balance here. Cool, so this is what a typical internal job might look like. We have a series of tasks broken out with a single task, admin, but different labels that describe the different activities we might do internally, internal meetings, business development, etc. So one of these tasks, however many you have, will be marked as billable. So let's open them up and have a look. Okay. Cool. What I'm looking for here is a billable equals yes. So this should read no. This one is set up correctly, internal meetings. This means all time we put to this task will be default non-billable, and that's the way we want it. Same with this one here, business development. Sales and marketing, billable, yes. So this is a problem child. We want to fix this. I'll show you that in a moment. Accounting and finance, another problem child. We'll fix that up as well. And business admin, we'll leave that alone. Cool. So now that we've identified the two tasks on our internal job that are causing our WIP balance, we're going to click Edit Task. And we're going to untick this billable box. Now if you do this from day dot, the day you set up your internal jobs, you'll never have this issue. But this is what it should look like, okay? So we'll do that for the next one as well. Great. So that's solved our problem from this point forward. But we still have a whole bunch of historical timesheet entries that have gone to accounting and finance and business admin or sales and marketing and accounting and finance that are going to be billable. And I'll show you what those look like. So although we've unticked that against the task, if I have a look at the timesheets, you're going to have thousands of these. If we have a look at this entry from the 4th of March, you'll find that it's still marked as billable, despite us having unticked the task. That's because unticking a task's billable or non-billable status will not retrospectively update all of those timesheets. We need to do that ourselves. So instead of clicking through and unticking that on thousands of timesheets, that's not a good use of your time. I'm going to show you how we're going to update those timesheets. So what we need to do is we need to create another task. So let's create that now. We're going to go to New Task, and I'm going to call this Admin, and I'm going to make sure it's non-billable, and I'm going to call that Accounting and Finance, for example. Probably call it the same thing. I'll make it 2 so we can identify which one's which. And we'll update that later. Excellent. So now what we need to do is we need to move, because inside this historical accounting and finance, you're unlikely to have just 1 hour sitting there. You could have hundreds of historical timesheets that have incorrectly been marked as billable. We want to update those, but we don't want to write them off, because writing them off would mean that someone like Will here, he is going to wear a write-off for his time that he did way back in the 4th of March inside his staff performance reports that we prepare. So we don't really want to penalise Will for having worked on internal work, but we do want to make sure that this isn't marked as a billable activity. So what do? Well, we're going to go to Options and Move Timesheets. And typically we'd use this function where we're moving time from one job to another. But in this instance, we're going to go to Move Job from one job, from within the same job. So we're moving it from that job there to the same job. You notice the job numbers are the same. And what time are we going to move? Well, I'm just doing the accounting and finance task for now. So I'm going to move this time here, just this time here. And it was actually sales and marketing. So I'll click next. Actually, I'll just do the accounting and finance one because I set up a task to move it into accounting and finance 2. Now, this is the tricky bit, the bit that absolutely has to occur. You need to tick this box, update billable status, because the billable status of the time originally, or right now, is billable. We want to move it from accounting and finance into accounting and finance 2. We're going to move all of the time out of this task into this task, and we're going to update the billable status because the billable status of our new task is non-billable. So we're going to click Save, and that's going to move all of our time. So if we have a look at this now, we can see the original task, which was set up incorrectly, it has 0 hours on it, and we've migrated that time into accounting and finance 2. If we have a look at the timesheets on this now, you'll find, hopefully, that our billable checkbox is now correctly non-billable, and all future time will be that way as well. So we can actually get rid of that historical one. It's not of much use to us anymore, and we can just update this one if we wanted to be accounting and finance, and no one will know any different. And we also haven't penalised the people who have worked on it historically by writing off their time that they've put to an internal task. So excellent. You're going to repeat that process for each task. If you need to reorder them, because that will put them in a different order, you can do so by clicking Reorder Tasks. Now, if you find that all of your tasks are set up incorrectly, it might be quicker for you just to set up an entirely new internal job. You might call it Internal 2020, for example. Add all the tasks correctly and migrate, so basically mirror the same format, but in an entirely new job, and move time using the same method, Options, Move Timesheets, to that entirely new admin task, admin job that you've set up, and move them all, internal meetings to internal meetings, accounting and finance to the new accounting and finance, business development to the new business development. That will achieve the same result, and will probably be a lot quicker than doing what I just did there. So if you've just got a couple, you can do what I just did here, but if all of your internal jobs are marked as billable, then go and do that. So one more step that I'll recommend, just to rule out the possibility of this occurring again for you, is to go to Business and Settings and go to Staff. And there's one tick box that we want on all of our staff that we want to make sure is unticked. So we'll click on Ruben here. If you scroll on down, there's one called Flag. Right at the bottom here, there's one that says Flag timesheet entries as billable or non-billable at time of entry. You want to untick that for all staff. The reason for that is we don't want our staff determining at the time of timesheet whether something is billable or non-billable. That includes internal time, but also client-related work. We leave the billable and non-billability of things up to the time of invoice. So at the time of invoice, we decide what we're going to write off and what we're not. If we never identify that time as billable in the first place, we'll never have the opportunity to write that time off or to invoice that out or not later on. So let's remove any confusion at the time of timesheet that may occur on the part of the staff member by making sure we untick this for everybody. So what we covered there was how to find a work in progress balance that may exist against your internal jobs and what to do about it. We discussed how we don't want to just write that time off because that would negatively affect the staff performance reporting we do for those staff members later on. We want to migrate that time onto a correctly set up task. We also discussed a permission that you can untick on people's permissions that you're going to remove that opportunity to tick and untick at the time of timesheet, which is often the cause of confusion. So hopefully you found that worthwhile, and I'll see you in the next session.